Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 3 of this test match from Hyderabad. And so much happened on day 3. The game moved ahead. The game went longer than we thought it would. But the busiest person at one point, especially when Ashwin got Stokes, was our production manager. Because the moment that happened, everybody started calling him up, asking for tickets. What time are the flights to Chennai? What time are the flights to Mumbai? And then slowly, as the partnership started to build, everyone started to say, no, let the tickets stay. Because Pope and folks, what a partnership it was. There are two things about that partnership that I want to talk to you about. One is, of course, that Pope played beautifully. Ollie Pope. His name has been associated with promise. Today it got associated with performance. Ben Foakes has always been seen as the quality wicketkeeper who weakens the batting. He changed that today in the course of that partnership. But the pitch got slower.
Yeah.
The ball got softer. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the partnership, but it just seemed batting was easier.
On turning pitches, when you get through the hard new ball, I mean, it's generally pretty funny to say this because generally we associate that with when the pitch is green and they say get through the hard new ball. Actually, in turning pitches as well, it works a lot like that. With the hard new ball, it's always much tougher to bat. As the ball gets softer, it becomes a lot easier because you get time to react in case you miss the length, to adjust off the front foot or the back foot, and hence you have opportunity. What will be difficult is run scoring, but in that regard as well, I think England did really well by making sure they constantly kept the pressure on India, either by rotating strike or by hitting the odd boundary.
You know, at the end of day 2, there was a graphic that we showed on TV that the ball was coming half a meter later. I'm assuming that it was a ball that left the hand from a similar trajectory at a similar speed on day 1 and day 2, was actually reaching the batter half a meter slower. I won't be surprised if that has actually increased as this has gone along. But yes, England batted very well. We're going to talk about Pope, but if you don't mind, I want to talk about Ben Duckett first, because I think it was his reverse sweeping. There's some number I saw, I don't know how much to believe it, but 57 runs of reverse sweep is a maximum that's ever happened. But I thought when you are chasing a deficit of 190, even after Crawley got out, to be able to play that reverse sweep with such freedom, they were batting like they were not trying desperately to save a game. And I say so because I've seen so many teams come to India and try and defend their way out of trouble and lose.
Correct. I think that's where this English team is different. Credit to Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum. What they've created is a culture to go out there and play with a lot of freedom, with the belief that there are certain shots that you have as a batter, back that irrespective of the situation. Yes, at times you have to absorb pressure, like what we saw Foakes and Pope do it, but do it your way. I think through and through the messaging has been very clear, and these sort of innings when your back is against the wall and you're coming ahead, we have seen one too many teams try to block their way out and then probably hope that as the pitch gets easier to bat on, they can score runs, but it never is the case. You lose wickets in clusters, your scoring is not good enough, you can never play catch up. But it was great to see that partnership actually put the pressure back on India. If Ben Duckett's dismissal is a great piece of bowling by Bumrah, who bowled that extraordinary spell. To be fair, it looked like England were very comfortable playing spinners. It didn't look like India could get a wicket at that stage, and that's a feeling you always get when there's a partnership. But actually, on a turning pitch or with a hard ball, they actually made it look like India didn't have a clue as to what to do at times, which is quite a remarkable feat considering these three have been such a good combination together and have put the best of batting lineups. A lot of doubts in a lot of batting lineups, and it was great to see them come out there and throw that pressure back at them.
I didn't want to crack this bad joke. A lot of people have already cracked it, so I'm just repeating it. Okay, it's not mine. England were looking for hope. They got Pope. Okay, I've said it. It's gone. It's okay. You never heard it. I've seen Ollie Pope play a fair bit, and he's always looked busy. He's looked bustling. He's looked promising. But today, I think there was something else. It wasn't that he just hung in there. It wasn't that kind of 100. I loved his footwork. I loved the confidence with which he was reverse sweeping. And for all that, to me, the shot that stood out was when he came down the wicket to Akshar Patel. And some of his contact points were 2.5 or 3 meters down. And he was reverse sweeping from the crease. I thought it was an innings of control and an innings of skill.
He is one of those batters who I think is a very nervous starter. You could see that in the first inning as well. He was searching, he was defending, he was fidgety, if I might use that word. But today, the way he started, he got a three run, I think, 3 runs off his first ball when Ashwin bowled. I think that in many ways got his rhythm going, and post that he looked very confident to play the shots that he has, and he has some unbelievable shots. The shot that's completely captured the Twitter world is the one where he goes down on his knee, doesn't look at the ball, and plays it over slip. That's a very hard shot to play, because you need to get a lot of things right to be able to do that, and he's almost got most things right while he was batting today. Played off a good spell from Bumrah, saw off Ashwin, played Jadeja and Aksar with consummate ease, and just the one blemish that the opportunity that he gave rather, which Akshar Patel put down at 114.
You've got to admit, was very,
very catchable by his standards. Left-hander, tall guy, got the reach. But must admit that Pope also goes to show when a country gives you responsibility, with that comes a sense of confidence as well. You could see he's the nominated vice captain. When Ben Stokes took over, they made him the vice captain. That confidence is coming through. Yes, there must have been a little bit of pressure, because we spoke about a lot of batters who could get runs. I don't think it'll be honest of us to say we saw Pope doing this today, getting 100 today. We didn't see that coming. It just shows that he believed in himself. There's responsibility there as a vice captain, but most importantly, this one will put a lot of naysayers to rest with the way he approached the inning more than anything
else.
That
shot that you talk about, actually, that was the most dramatic. I mentioned the straight shot down the ground because I'm slightly older than you. I seem to remember the old classical shots. You remember these. But that shot, even if Ollie Pope had it, he would never have played it 18 months ago. We give a lot of credit to Bazball. Bazball is not just go and hit every ball or just go and reverse sweep every ball. Bazball is play with freedom, back yourself, and don't fear outcomes. Don't fear defeat. That is something our texts have been telling us for the last, since I was born. I was going to 100 years. I'm not yet that old. But that's what our texts have been telling us all along. If you don't have fear in your mind, the energy and strength that you get is unbelievable. And I think that is what they are feeding off. That is what Bazball is to some extent. I think he tried doing it at KKR as well. When McCullum was at KKR?
Absolutely, he did. You could see his style of coaching was a lot of positivity, give the responsibility to the batters and to the bowlers then, in fact, and at times go harder than what is required was always his mantra. And you could see that coming through with the English team. You need a certain amount of skill to do it as well. We had a bunch of young players. Some could do it. Some were still learning the ropes. So that was a different challenge there. This team have to say that they have bought into it. They believe in it. And it has worked for them because it's the kind of batting that they know as well. You take a Ben Duckett and tell him to probably bat 3 hours without playing shots. He might struggle, but tell him to just go out there and express yourself.
But
might fit him well.
Zach Crawley was a struggler. He's made a batter out of Zach Crawley. Ben Duckett was a struggler. He's come to India before as far back as 2016 and not scored any runs at all. It was a nightmarish tour for him, 2016. So he's unlocked that. And I remember once, I was quite fascinated by that approach. And I remember reading from Brendan McCullum that the talent is always there. It is how you reach it. And can you reach out to that talent? So that's what I've loved about today's play. Look, they might still lose this game. But back in 2012-13, they lost the first test. But the manner in which they played the second innings opened up a path for them of self-belief. And they went on to do well. So I still think 126 is not threatening. But it's far more than we thought.
I'll tell you this, Harsha. Today will be a day when Team India will go back and relook at a lot of their strategies. Because they have taken down the spinners. Let's be honest, they've put a lot of pressure. If they had a very potent bowling, which at this point of time is not as potent as it could be, India would be worried. 126 on the last day, a couple of early wickets, you never know. There could be pressure, but now they're backing themselves after looking at the attack, saying, "Oh, it is gettable up to a certain point." Now, what today is done also is whatever they thought in terms of the pitch, in terms of using the spinners, everything will be like, okay, it's not about being one bad day. I get the feeling it's almost 2 out of 2. In first innings as well, they showed glimpses of it. In second innings, they came out more confident. And that's what they did in 2012. In the second innings of the first test, they went ahead, and you were speaking about it, and they did what they did. And that confidence carried into the second test match and the third test match to follow. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it is definitely the mindset of a lot of the Indian team will be like, okay, these guys have a method and it seems to put our spinners off. So they'll go back to the drawing board and rework certain things, which was working so long with a lot of other teams.
It was indeed. I thought Ben Foakes batted very well too. He showed grit. He hung in there while they knew a partnership was needed. He came in when there was a deficit. He left when there was a significant positive. And all the narrative that was coming out of England for me, out of Ben Foakes, was he's a keeper who weakens the batting. And I thought that was unfair. His first class average is 39. When you're a keeper, a first class 39 is fantastic. Test average is 31. DK, for years, a keeper who batted at 7, if he averaged 28 to 30, he was wonderful, except for that evil Adam Gilchrist who changed everything. And everyone now expects wicket keepers to score much more. But if he's averaging 31, he's good. He scored a little more than his average today, and I thought the combination really played well.
They did.
Yeah. So there you are. That's what took them up there. In India's bowling, I thought the spinners tired a little bit towards the end. I got the feeling that it wasn't just the batters who were playing who could have thought about playing for the next day. India were happy for play to end. I thought the fielding grew a little lethargic towards the end as well. The fizz had gone. There's couple of overs for the new ball. Maybe that'll make a difference, but we'll come to that in just a moment. For the moment, I want to talk about 2 or 3 deliveries. We talked about that Akshar delivery to Bairstow. We talked about Bumrah in the first innings. There's a couple of balls I want to talk about as well. Ashwin to Stokes. He's got Stokes out 12 times. There must be something. I know Ashwin has got a lot of great left-handers out, but Ashwin to Stokes was absolutely fantastic. Which was the other one? Bumrah to
Duckett.
Bumrah to Duckett. Bumrah to Duckett. After, how funny was that, by the way? We must come there. Very, very, very close LBW. India did not take. And then India reviewed one for which they should get a 5 review ban. I think he was moving his hands around Rohit, and by mistake one hand touched the other and a button went off. Anyway, but the ball that he came back with. So the Ashwin ball or the Bumrah ball?
The Bumrah ball, for sure. It's extreme skill, Harsha. Sometimes it's hard to make people understand how difficult a skill it is to get the ball to go out to a right-hander, which basically means to get the ball to come in when the ball is reversing.
In the direction.
You need a certain risk position to make it happen with a certain amount of backspin on the ball. See, most of the bowlers who bowl reverse swing will always get the back into the right-hander and get the ball away to the left-hander. That is conventional reverse swing. It works. For a lot of the bowlers who have slightly slingy actions, it works. But to do it the other way around, very few bowlers in the world could do it at good speed. Now, make no mistake, at good speed, if somebody is bowling the ball that's coming back in at 139, the one that's going out could be 124, 125. But to do it at 135, now that requires a lot of technical things to go right. Imagine Bumrah doing it, and that's what makes him so special.
Okay, since we are on Bumrah, that is our in the hot spot question. We use the word great sometimes. Sometimes we qualify it as a modern great. Maybe not yet an all-time great, but a contemporary great. Is Bumrah a contemporary great? Is he on the way to more? What do you think? By the way, he's only about 32, 33 tests old. But he's already done so much in life. Where do you assess Jasprit Bumrah? You've played against him, you've played with him, you've been a teammate, you know him as a person.
So I'll use a couple of one analogy here. If you remember in the car, we were talking about R.D. Burman, and you said after his passing away,
he became a when he was alive, no one cared for him. When he died, everyone made him a great.
I don't like to use the word great too easily. For me, I don't like to use that superlative too easily. I hold on to it, but I'm not shy in calling Jasprit Bumrah a modern day great without a doubt. What he brings to the table in any format is par excellence. In terms of as a captain, he is the dream bowler. You need a big batsman out, give the ball to Bumrah. He has an attitude to say, I want to bowl against him. There's nothing happening. The pitch is dead. He will find a way to give you the best in his spell. I'm not guaranteeing you a wicket. T20, you want him at death, he's there. You want him in the middle, he can get you a wicket. In ODI cricket, now let me not go about that. But today, Test cricket showed why Bumrah is so skilled in reverse swing to bring the ball back in as an art, which Siraj does, a lot of other bowlers do. But to take the ball away for a right-hander is a technical... Not many people can do it, let me put it that way. If you remember, if you do jog your mind and you think about, say, Shoaib Akhtar, Waqar Younis, very few people could do it both ways. They'll always bring it in. But I think
out... would do it both ways.
Yes, that's what made him so special. There are very few. James Anderson has done it. In fact, there are very few bowlers who could do it at the same pace. And Bumrah is one of those who can take the ball away and bring it back in. With the new ball, there are a lot of people who can do it. But with the old ball, when it's reversing, very few in the world have achieved it. And Bumrah is special with that.
I was doing a bit of radio commentary back to England, and there was Stephen Armisen on one side and Darren Goff in the studio. And I asked Goff about Bumrah. And he said there are two players playing in this era who are bowlers beyond their generation, not just generational bowlers. He said Kagiso Rabada and Jasprit Bumrah. And he said, I just absolutely love when Jasprit Bumrah is bowling, I'm just watching. I love Jasprit Bumrah. And when you get the respect of people of your fraternity, it means you have arrived. So Bumrah, go-to bowler. He's got a new ball coming in a couple of overs tomorrow, and India will want to make that new ball count, which takes us nicely, seamlessly into fast forward. Tomorrow, 126, new ball 2 overs away. At what point will India start to think, oops, this is tricky? If they aren't thinking about it already?
I don't think for a start India will be thinking this is tricky. They'll back themselves to
I'm
get
glad
this
you
score.
said that.
That is one. Unless the target goes over 200, they're not going to be too fussed about it. You got to understand, yes, in the top order, there's a couple of players in many ways looking to play for a place in the team. But there's also 7 other batters who are batting really well, who are very assured of their spots. And most importantly, India bat till number 9. And it's not easy to pick wickets when the pitch is getting slower to run through a team. What it can build is pressure. Fourth innings pressure is a real term, and a couple of wickets can always put the cat amongst the pigeons, though you also require a certain amount of skill to sustain that pressure over a period of time. And that, I believe, right now, with the current lot of spinners that England has, could be the issue. But what I'm really proud of England for what they've achieved in this game, and I look at it, is the fact that they have actually put a marker in the sand to say they haven't come here to just participate, they've come here to compete, and that is a great way to start the series.
Which is very good, because in all the years I've been covering cricket, earlier England teams used to come armed with excuses for losing. And they would come to India, but they never lost to India. They always lost to the dust, they lost to the food, they lost to the climate, they lost to something else. They'd come ready with their complaint stories. I think this team has come, they've not complained. They're saying we will go out and play the way we are. What are the pitches we'll play on them? The complaints on that silly visa issue, and for example, have come from outside. So I like the way England are playing. But my thought on tomorrow is, one team has made well in excess of 400. The other team batting a second time has made well in excess of 300 with wickets in hand. That means the pitch, other than the odd ball keeping low, like the one Folks got or like the one Akshar Patel got, and 1 or 2 batters will have their number on it, 126 should not be a challenge. Other than, as you said, the pressure of winning a game in the 4th innings. My gut feel is 200 should be chaseable. If you get a good start, it should be even easier. So at the moment, I think the game is tilted India's way. Don't forget, with that new ball, if you get an early wicket, almost every day you're getting early wickets. Both on day 2 and day 3, you got early wickets. So if India get early wickets and are chasing less than 160, I think it should be 1-0. But we'll wait and see. You're buying tickets? Flight tickets?
I think late evening.
Late evening?
Yeah.
Paka?
I'm hoping I can fly with you, but you're not giving me the
If
invite.
we're not flying late evening tomorrow and the game is still open, India's in deep trouble.
India is. I would be very surprised. I promised a lot of the fans on Cricbuzz saying it should be over in 3 days. Harsha told me that time itself. Sometimes age does make a difference. You do speak like a 100-year-old man, Harsha, with a lot of experience. You said, don't say it too fast. But I think you were right. It was probably
You could have said all that you said without...
There are things in life you can buy, but wisdom and experience comes with a lot of...
That's his comeback line.
Wisdom and experience comes to very few.
Keep going. It's sounding a lot better than it did when you said sound like a 100-year-old. Everything after that sounds better. But I think it's still up, unless Pope goes on to make this a double 100. Rehan Ahmed has shown he can bat. We saw that Hartley, in his odd style, can bat as well. People can hang in there. But a hard ball, not just for Bumrah, but for spin, should be a big factor. We'll wait and see. But what we can tell you with certainty, which I wasn't sure I could say yesterday, was Cricbuzz Chatter will be back with you at the end of day 4.